The air was crisp, tinged with the laughter of reminiscence, as we gathered around the rustic wooden table at Ben's house, our fingers greased with takeout boxes and our hearts light with the afterglow of adventure. It had been a week since we returned from our trip to the serene coast of Oregon, a much-needed escape from the monotonous clatter of daily life. Here's the one where Mia almost fell into the water. I pointed out, nudging Mia with my elbow. She responded with a mock glare and a playful shove back, causing a ripple of chuckles to course through our small group. As photos swiped across the digital screen, a particular sequence captured by my DSLR began to unfurl the scenic cliffs and frothy waves punctuated by our smiling faces. That's when Alex, always the observant one, paused and squinted at the screen. "Wait, go back a couple of photos." "Jake," he said, his tone losing its earlier likeness. I scrolled back and Alex pointed at the edge of a group shot. "There. Isn't that the same guy from our lunch stop in Newport?" The table went silent as we scrutinized the figure in question, a man in a tan jacket lurking just behind us, partially obscured by a crowd. His presence, once unnoticed, now seemed ominously persistent as we flipped through more photos, finding him again and again, always on the periphery, always watching. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. "This can't be a coincidence," I muttered, feeling a mix of anger and dread. "It's like he was following us." Mia grabbed the tablet, her fingers trembling slightly. "This is creepy." "Did anyone talk to him, know him?" Heads shook around the table and I felt my pulse quicken. Was this a stalker, a maniac? My thoughts race. But then an even more disturbing thought took root. The man in the photos bore a faint resemblance to someone I knew, someone close that night, after everyone left. I lay beside my wife Laura. The image of the stranger seared into my mind. My heart pounded with a mix of suspicion and fear. As I waited for her steady breathing to signal she was asleep quietly, I rose and went to her purse, my hands feeling foreign as they rifled through its contents until I found her phone, what I was looking for or hoping not to find. I wasn't sure until I saw it messages, dozens of them, all from a number not saved in her contacts, but one that now etched itself into my memory. The texts weren't innocent, they were intimate, filled with longing and details of secret rendezvous. The world seemed to spin, the words blurring as a raw, seething feeling tore through me. My wife, the woman I loved, had betrayed me, and worse, she had enjoyed the thrill of her lover hiding in plain sight, tracking us like a game. I put the phone back, my mind racing with the implications of this betrayal. Revenge, a dark whisper suggested, would be the only way to reclaim my shattered dignity. I would have to plan to calculate no rash moves, but she would have to pay both her and her perverse voyager of a lover. As dawn broke, painting the room with the first gray light of the morning, I lay awake the seed of retribution, taking root in my heart, plotting the ruin that would inevitably follow. This wasn't just the end of a marriage, it was the start of a reckoning. The morning light spilled into the kitchen, casting long shadows on the floor. As I prepared coffee, the sound of the grinder unnervingly loud in the otherwise silent room. Laura emerged, her hair told from sleep, her eyes still heavy. "Morning," she murmured, reaching for a cup. Her normalcy grated against every nerve, igniting a cold fury within me. I forced a smile, passing her the freshly brewed coffee. "Sleep well, MHM." She hummed, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. She sipped her coffee, then glanced up, a frown creasing her forehead. "You okay? You look off. Just tired." I lied my mind, racing with the images from her phone. The plans for revenge were still forming. Crystallizing with every innocent glance she threw my way. I watched her for a moment. The familiarity of her gestures are now alien to me. "Hey, I was thinking about that trip. We took." Weird question, but did you notice anyone unusual following us? Her hand paused mid-air, the coffee cup inches from her lips. "What do you mean?" "There was a guy in the photos, same one over and over. It's like he was everywhere we went." Laura set her cup down, her composure slipping. "That's really creepy." "Jake, I didn't notice anyone." "Are you sure?" I nodded, tightening my grip on my own cup to still the shaking. "Yeah, very sure. I'm going to find out who he is." "Maybe it was just a coincidence," she suggested, but her voice wavered, betraying her. "I don't think so." I kept my eyes fixed on her, watching as the mask she wore began to crack. "Actually, I'm going to call the police. See if they can help, maybe show them the photos." "No." The force of her reaction surprised us both. She recovered quickly, her fingers nervously picking at the edge of the countertop. "I mean, maybe it's just someone who happened to be there at the same time." No need to get the police involved over something so small, right? Her plea, so desperate, confirmed my suspicions, but I needed more evidence, more leverage. I guess you're right, I conceded, feigning agreement. But I'm still curious. I think I'll ask around. Maybe someone saw him or knows him. Laura nodded, visibly relieved. Yeah, that sounds like a better idea. The day dragged on, filled with mundane tasks that I performed mechanically, all while plotting my next move. Late afternoon, when Laura went out for a meeting, I seized the opportunity. I logged onto her computer, my heart pounding as I bypassed her password with a guest. That proved too easy. Emails, social media, more messages, the depth of her deceit laid bare. I copied everything, all the proof I would need. Then I stumbled upon a photo she hadn't sent yet. A picture of her and the stranger intimate, a moment meant to be private. Was it the leverage I needed? That evening when she returned, the atmosphere had shifted. She sensed it, her smile faltering as she searched my face for clues. Find out anything about that guy, she asked, trying to keep her voice light. Why, Laura, my voice was more of a whisper strained with the remnants of shock and anger. She wiped her eyes, looking away. I don't know. Jake, I got caught up and it was exciting, different, but it meant nothing. I swear meant nothing. I scoffed, pushing the printed photos of her and the stranger towards her. These say differently. She flinched as if the photos were capable of inflicting physical pain. Jake, No, I cut her off, standing up to pace the room, my mind racing through the next phases of my plan. It's clear to me now what we had. It's over, but I'm not letting this go. You brought him into our life, into our memories. She stood to desperation, seeping into her voice. Jake, please, we can fix this. I can end it with him. It's too late for that. I was resolute. The path forward. Clear in my mind, I'm going to make sure you regret this. You and him. She sank back into her chair, her fight seemingly gone. What are you going to do? First, everyone will know, your friends, your family, your colleagues. I pulled out my phone, starting with a group message to our closest friends, attaching one of the photos. They all deserve to know who they're really dealing with. Her face drained of color as she watched me type. Jake, please think about this. You don't want to do something you'll regret. I already regret trusting you, I replied coldly, pressing send. The immediate buzz of incoming messages was a chorus to my resolve. Next, I turned my attention to her professional life. Laura was a real estate agent, her reputation one of her most valuable assets. I drafted an email to her boss and colleagues, meticulously detailing her deceit and attaching proof of her affair, ensuring her personal actions bled into her professional world. Jake, you're destroying me, she pleaded, her voice cracking. That's the point, I said, feeling a surge of vindictive satisfaction as I hit send, and I'm not done yet. As the evening wore on, I took to social media, sharing a post that painted a vivid picture of betrayal. Within hours it gathered momentum, likes, shares, comments, a digital wildfire ignited by scorn. Finally I looked at her presence, now foreign and unwelcome, in what had been our home. You need to leave tonight, where will I go? Her voice was barely audible, a mix of fear and resignation settling in. That's your problem. You should have thought about that before. With each step she took towards packing a bag, the weight of the day pressed down on me. I had started my revenge, the ruins of her life a testament to her betrayal, but as the house grew silent after her departure, a hollow feeling crept up, reminding me that the victory in retribution was bittersweet. The echoes of the past lingered in the now empty room, and as I sat alone, the gravity of how much we had both lost settled in. But this was just the beginning. My plan had more to unfold, and there was no turning back now. The days following Laura's departure were shrouded in a deceptive silence. Each morning I awoke to the glaring reality of my empty, quiet home, a constant reminder of the seismic shift that had torn through my life. But the silence was misleading beneath it. The storm of my revenge gathered strength. A few days after exposing her, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered, suspecting it might be him, her lover. The cause of all this is this, Jake. The voice was tentative, cautious. Yes, I replied. Curtly steeling myself, this is Michael. I think we need to talk. Michael, I savored his name with disdain. Sure, let's meet today. We agreed to meet at a secluded park, a neutral ground swathed in the dying light of dusk. As I approached the designated spot, I spotted him, a tall figure, nervously pacing as he saw me. He stopped, his posture stiffening. Jake, he began, holding up his hands in a peace offering, save it. Regret. I scoffed, you'll understand regret. Soon enough, before he could respond, I stepped forward, my movement quick and decisive. I grabbed him, my anger fueling a strength I hadn't known I possessed. I dragged him toward the edge of the park near the secluded area by the water. "Jake? What are you doing?" Panic edged his voice as he struggled, but my grip was ironclad. "This is for every moment you stole from me." I hissed, pushing him to the ground. He fell, scrambling to get up, but I was faster. I pinned him down, my hands around his neck, squeezing the betrayal out of him. "Jake, stop." His plea was gurgled, desperate. I paused, my breaths heavy, staring into his eyes. A part of me, a dark, twisted part, wanted to end it all here. But another part, perhaps the last shred of my humanity, recoiled at what I was becoming. I released him, stepping back as he coughed and gasped on the ground. "Get out of my sight," I said, my voice cold. "And if you ever come near me or any place I care about, it will be the last thing you do." He nodded, scrambling to his feet, and stumbled away, leaving me alone with the chilling silence and the realization of how far I had fallen. The following weeks were a blur of emptiness and reflection. The destruction of Laura's life was complete, but the victory was hollow, the echo of my actions, the extent of my vengeance weighed on me. Then the final blow came unexpectedly. A letter arrived one day. Laura's handwriting on the envelope, inside a simple message. "Jake, I know now the full extent of your revenge you've won, and I've lost everything. But in your victory, remember that the cost was the love we once had and the peace you'll never find again. I'm leaving for good, and you won't see me or hear from me again. Goodbye." With the letter in hand, I looked around at the empty walls, the silence louder than ever. She was right. The cost was too high a Pyrrhic victory. At best, my revenge had consumed everything, leaving nothing but ruins in its wake. The realization hit hard, and as I sat there, the weight of my actions crushing me, I understood that my quest for retribution had not only destroyed her, but me as well. We were both casualties of a war where love was the battlefield and betrayal the weapon. And now, haunted by the ghosts of our past, the future loomed as nothing more than a bleak expanse of regret and solitude.